All right, guys, so today we are going to be throwing some new axles on the rear of the Coyote swapped New Edge. We've gotten a few parts in for the car, including those axles, which are in this box right here. I'll show them to you in a second. But we got a few new parts in for the car, so we're going to start working on it again. The content is going to start coming back for the car. And then obviously, we're just waiting for winter to get over, guys. Obviously, there's not a whole lot we can do other than work on the car. So it's kind of just been sitting here. We do have a part in this box, which is a big deal. I'm going to be revealing that soon. If you guys follow me on TikTok, you probably already know what it is. But yeah, let me show you guys what those axles look like. All right, guys, so here is one of the axles that I pulled out. They are SR Performance 28 spline axles. They are a slight upgrade from the stock ones, but they are the same spline count. So it's probably honestly not going to be enough for this car, guys, especially in its max potential someday. Little hint. But for now, we're going to upgrade to these just for this year, because there is big things coming for the car next winter. Throughout this summer, we're going to kind of work on some things for the car, but these are just a little bit of an upgrade to get me by for this year while we're trying to get used to the car, figure out what's wrong with it, if there's any issues, basically do the whole shakedown run on the car, get everything where it needs to be, so that next year we can take this thing to the next level. So I think these axles will hopefully hold up for this year and get us to that point. Like I said, they're the stock spline count, but they are of an upgraded material, and I think they are a little bit upgraded in thickness. Once we get those other ones out of the car, we'll compare them to see if they look any different. Now, somebody has been back there before. They did 410 gears before me. The previous owner did 410 gears and aftermarket diff cover. I don't know if they did axles at the same time, so we'll see. Maybe if there's already axles done on it, it's going to be hard probably to tell if they look exactly the same as those. But a telltale sign will be if they're already a higher spline count than those ones. So if that is the case, then we're going to end up leaving it alone, sealing everything back up, and just returning those other axles. So we'll see once we get in there. They do also come with, I already pulled this package out, comes with new studs, wheel studs, and new bearings and seals. So we're going to be doing that at the same time. But these are probably a little bit more of an upgrade for somebody with a, maybe like a Pro Charge 4.6, which is what this was before, who just doesn't want to worry about it. If you guys are doing Coyote swaps with big turbo applications like this, I probably wouldn't suggest this. I would suggest going to a higher spline count. But like I said, we're just trying to get it through to next year, and then we'll take the car to the next level next year, and upgrade the diff and some other things. But let's get into it, guys. Also, at the same time, guys, we are going to be changing out the rear caliper brackets, so we can go back to GT style brakes. I think I've said it in a previous video before, but the Cobra brakes on the rear of this actually rub on the 15s. And I know people online that I read in forums, they said that you can clearance the banjo bolt, but in my application, I clearanced the banjo bolt basically down to the maximum of what I was comfortable with, and it still won't clear. I don't know if it's a race star specific issue. Maybe a set of welds would clear a little bit better. Maybe the inner bore diameter is a little bit bigger on the 15s. I'm not sure. But on these ones, they don't clear the Cobra brakes. So we're going to switch back to GT brakes. Now, the only difference between the GT brakes, or the Cobra brakes and the GT brakes, is the diameter of the rotor. The calipers themselves are the same size, at least from what I'm reading on these forums. So we're just going to switch out that bracket. So that will bring the caliper in a little bit closer, and then we'll throw on a set of GT rotors and brakes, which will hopefully reduce the diameter of the brake package, and then we should be able to clearance them. I know in this kind of application it's not the best to be decreasing the brakes, but it is the rear brakes, Not as important as the fronts. The fronts still have the Cobras, as you can see right there, drilled and slotted. So I was going to upgrade to like a set of Stranges, or maybe find like a set of Brembos, something. Willwood, anybody. I called multiple manufacturers, and for whatever reason, nobody makes like a direct bolt-on setup for the new edges, only for Fox bodies. And they said there's a little bit of a difference. I'm not sure if it's the axle thickness or what it may be, or the offset. Whatever it may be, it's different. So maybe we'll look into that in the future. But for now, we're just going to switch back to GT's brakes on the rear so we can get this thing going. And don't worry, guys, we're not going to throw these things on there looking like they do. They came off of a car in the junkyard. So we're going to be cleaning them up and repainting them because they are not worthy of my car currently. So let's get to it. All right, guys, we got the rear tires off. One's right there. And as I was saying before, we are rubbing pretty bad around that outer rim on that banjo bolt. As you can see, there's not much of my banjo bolt left since I grinded them down to try and clearance it some more. But most of this damage was pretty much done on the first drive. I didn't hear it until pretty much I pulled out on the road, and yeah, was not a good gig. But I'm probably just gonna end up cleaning them up a bit. They are aluminum, so it's not really gonna hurt them too much. It's not like they're gonna rust out, and I'll probably just throw some black paint on them. These aren't gonna be my main set. I'm gonna try and find a set of basically the same 15s and then some street tires, because these are mostly street tires, I say. But yeah, that's the rubbing, so let's get into it. All right, guys, so we got the brakes all taken off. The sway bars dropped down because it was right on the back of that diff cover, so it would have been a bit of a pain to try and get that diff cover past the ring and pinion. So we got that all dropped down, got the pan ready to go so we can start draining it. I'm probably not going to drain it tonight, guys, because it's getting late. But it does appear that these are the stock axles, just from the age, and they are a different design on the inside here. So I'm going to assume that they're different axles, but we'll see once we get them out. But I will catch you guys tomorrow. All right, guys, so we are in the rear end now. Got the cover pulled off. It's pretty dirty in here. I'll probably try and clean it up a bit. But the next thing we're gonna do is go after that bolt right there. Once we get that bolt off, we can pull the pin out and then rotate this over, push the axles in, and then we'll be able to get those C-clips out. But I probably won't show you guys the pulling the bolt and this pin, but I'll show you those C-clips once we get there. All right, guys, also make sure you remove the wheel speed sensor. If you don't, you won't have quite enough room to push that axle in and get that C-clip out. So just make sure you guys get that before you try to pull those C-clips. All right, guys, so the one clip for the right side pretty much fell out instantly. But you can see the C-clip right there for the left side. I'm gonna go pull that out. And then once you guys get those out, you can just pull the axles out the end. All right, guys, so this is what the C-clip looks like. There's one for each side, and we got both of them out, so now we can go pull the axles out. All right, guys, next we're gonna try and get this wheel bearing out of there. We'll use one of these wheel bearing remover tools. So basically you stick it in there like that, get it to go straight, and then we'll sandwich it against there with this jam nut and this big spacer here. And then we'll put a slide hammer on there and yank it out. Something similar to this, and then we'll run that on there like that. Sandwich it a bit, So it's got a good grip on it. And then I'll grab that slide hammer. There it is, guys. The wheel bearing and seal is one whole assembly. All right, guys, so we got the wheel bearings and the seals pulled out, and I also pulled off the caliper brackets because, like I said, we're switching to GT brakes, and the only big difference in the caliper setup between the GTs and the Cobras is the bracket that attaches to the axle actually pushes the caliper away from the axle farther to accommodate for the bigger brake rotor. The caliper itself is the same, but the only way to change back to the GT, or if you're going to the Cobra, is to remove your axles, because the bracket can only be removed once the axles are out. I got the bracket over here. So this is the one that was in the car for the Cobra setup. And then if we line these holes up here pretty well, that's about the difference-ish, obviously, that the GT caliper will be closer to the axle, which would give us plenty of clearance for what we need. Obviously, it's not an upgrade, it's a downgrade because we're going from Cobras to GT brakes. But for now, just to get us going, that's what we're gonna end up doing. I might, like I said, I think it's just a race start issue. I don't know if like the inner bore is just a little bit smaller on the backside where that caliper is than like a set of welds. So eventually, once we go to build this axle, probably next winter, once the car's really gonna start getting serious, we'll maybe find a set of welds and switch back to the Cobra brakes. So I'll just hang on to these brackets until we get to that point. I still need to clean these up before we put them on, but let's get into it. Also, guys, I'm not sure how imperative it is, but I don't think that this, as you can kind of see on this one, I don't think that it's actually going to sit on like a lip. So there could be different depths that you could put the new one on. So what I think I'm going to do is just take a measurement from the axle here to the bottom of this reluctor wheel, so that I know once I put these on the new axles that they're pretty much where they need to be. I don't know how imperative it is. I don't know how accurate it needs to be. So hopefully it works. It's not super important because I want ABS, but most of the systems in the car are pretty much useless now other than the ABS system. So if the ABS system's useless, it's not really the end of the day. All right, guys, so we were able to get both of those removed off of those axles just using the nut and bolt and a washer as a press. But yep, I'm gonna clean up the insides of these and then get those other axles, at least one of them, in the freezer right now. Hopefully this next part will go smooth, but we shall see. All right, guys, so I got the inside of the axle tube where the bearing mounts and the seal mounts all cleaned up. I just used like a wire brush, kind of cleaned up some of the surface rust that had been showing up, and then use some brake clean to kind of clean it up a bit. But we're gonna install those next. All right, guys, so we got the brand new bearing installed. As you can see, it kind of goes just in past that little lip right there, and then it kind of hits a hard stop. So next we're gonna throw the seal in. All right, guys, so now we got the seal all pushed up in there. Looks pretty good. So I'm gonna go do the other side and then we'll move on. All right, guys, so I ended up not recording the rest of this. It's pretty straightforward. You just need to press in all of your studs and the phonic wheel for your ABS. I still have the sensor down here. I need to throw that on. But we got the axles all put in, and the cover put back on, all the C-clips put back in, and all sealed up and filled. We threw on the new caliper brackets here for the GT style brakes, so we have more clearance for those 15-inch wheels. But that's pretty much everything. The studs go on pretty easily if you guys have a press. If you don't have a press, I would probably suggest taking it to somebody with a press, because it does take quite a bit of pressure to get these on. But some people, there's a few companies I think that do sell like stud installers to draw them in, so you could just pick up one of those. And as far as this phonic wheel back here, that is also pressed on, and again, just use the press. And the original ones actually broke on me. I had to buy 2 new ones, and these ones ended up going on. But yeah, the original ones were just a little brittle, and they snapped whenever I went to go press them on. But that's pretty much it. I do need to put the ABS sensors back on, and then put the whole brake assembly back together. But I don't want to bore you guys with that. I'm sure if you've gotten to this point, you can figure out the rest of it. All right, guys, so once I get off camera here, I'm going to finish up the rear end. I don't want to bore you guys. I'm sure you guys can figure out how to put on like the rear sway bar and the brakes and stuff. So I'm not going to bore you with that video. I'm sorry I haven't been posting a whole lot lately for anybody who's been kind of following along on the build. It should be soon that I start posting a little bit more. I'm trying to kind of put more time towards it, because we are coming towards the beginning of the season to be able to drive it. So I'm trying to get all these little kinks and odds and ends things that I wanted to be fixed last year. I'm trying to get it all done now so that we can actually get some content that you guys probably want to see. Some of it driving down the road, hitting the dyno, maybe hitting the track. We'll see. I'm not sure if we're going to get it quite sound enough this year. I'm going to try. It's not that the car won't be sound, but I want to make sure that everything is set in stone, ready to go, so I'm not breaking something on the track. And then we have a few more things coming. I have something for the interior that'll be in the next video, so stay tuned for that, guys. And then I have a really big thing I'm going to reveal to you guys, but it's going to be kind of a build series with it. It won't be shown until, or finished probably until next winter, and then it'll be going into the car. And then I also have another project that I've been doing for a while. I've had that thing for like 3 or 4 years. It's not here, but I've had it for quite a while, and I need to get the thing finished. So I'm probably going to be presenting that to you guys here soon, doing a little bit of a reveal on that project, which is cool. If you like this style of stuff, 90s stuff, you'll probably like this, which is kind of a little hint there. But yeah, that stuff will be coming soon, so make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. If you're liking the content, please hit that like button. But I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.